someone else's vote count more than yours? For 80% of Americans, that's exactly what's happening. Their vote for president isn't nearly as valuable as the vote of someone in a so-called swing state. Most of us live in states that have become so predictably Democratic or Republican that we're taken for granted by candidates. Presidential elections now turn on the dwindling number of swing states that could go either way, which gives voters in those states huge leverage. The 2020 election came down to just over 40,000 votes, spread across just 3 swing states. 2016 came down to fewer than 80,000 votes, also across 3 states. In those elections, the national popular vote wasn't nearly that close. In fact, in the last 5 elections, the winners of the popular vote beat their opponents by an average of 5 million votes. The current state-by-state electoral college system of electing presidents is creating ever closer contests in an ever smaller number of closely divided states for elections that aren't really that close. Not only that, but these razor-thin swing state margins can invite post-election recounts, audits, and lawsuits, even attempted coups. A losing candidate might be able to overturn 40,000 votes with these techniques. Overturning 5 million would be nearly impossible. The current system presents a growing threat to the peaceful transition of power. It also strips us of our individual power. If you're a New York Republican or an Alabama Democrat, presidential candidates have little incentive to try and win your vote under the current system. They don't need broad popular support as much as a mobilized base in a handful of swing states. Campaigning to a smaller and more radical base is also leading to uglier, more divisive campaigns. And it's becoming more and more likely that candidates are elected president without winning the most votes nationwide. It's already happened twice this century. Now, abolishing the Electoral College should be the ultimate goal. But this requires a constitutional amendment, which is almost impossible to pull off because it would need a 2/3 vote by Congress, plus approval by 3/4 of all state legislatures. But in the meantime, there is an alternative, and it starts with getting our states to join the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. Now, don't let that mouthful put you off. It could save our democracy. This compact would guarantee the presidency to the candidate who receives the most popular votes nationwide without a constitutional amendment. How does it work? The Constitution assigns each state a number of electors equal to its number of representatives and senators. As of now, the total number of electors is 538. So anyone who gets 270 or more of those electoral college votes becomes president. Article 2 of the Constitution allows state legislatures to award their electors any way they want. So all that's needed is for states with a total of at least 270 electoral votes to agree to award all their electoral votes to the presidential candidate who wins the national popular vote. The movement to do this is already underway. 15 states and the District of Columbia have joined the compact, agreeing that once enough states join, all their electoral votes will go to the popular vote winner. Together, states in the compact have 195 electoral votes. So we just need a few more states with at least 75 electors to join the compact, and it's done. Popular vote laws have recently been introduced in Michigan and Minnesota, which, if passed, would bring the total to 220. Now, naturally, this plan will face legal challenges. There are a lot of powerful interests who stand to benefit by maintaining the current system. But if we keep up the fight and get enough states on board, America will never again elect a president who loses the national popular vote. No longer would 80% of us be effectively disenfranchised from presidential campaigns, and a handful of votes in swing states would no longer determine the winner. If you want to know more or get involved, click the link below to read about the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. If your state is not already a member, I urge you to contact your state senators and reps to get your state on board.
This message is brought to you by Raytheon. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to ROMA Nation. I'm AK, your favorite guy. This guy right next to me, Scrapjaw. What's going on?
I was enjoying a nice whiskey I found that's out of Kentucky. It's out there at Louisville. It is pronounced Louisville. So, Blade and Bow comes with a nice little key on it. It's a nice touch. My wife thought it was cute. I was like, cute. Tastes like awesomeness. Anyway, it's fun.
That'll put some hair on your chest.
Put some hair on your chest. Just
Uh,
be responsible. Be responsible about it. That's all I'm saying.
exactly. All right. So tonight we're gonna go over a loophole in the Electoral College, but of course we've got tonight's main segment, Russiagate Uncensored, the Presidency. Here we go.
I just got word that my mic is not working. Is it working now?
We can hear you. It's. I mean, the gain is just like.
What the heck? I'll work on it.
You work on it. All right, that sounds good. Once again, before we get in our next segment, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and join our Roma Nation Discord, where you can talk with like-minded individuals. You can also help your show hosts pick out the topics that you would like discussed here on the show. Now, without
Come teach the audio guy how to do his audio.
I think that's you, Scrap.
I was just dunking on myself. I was
Whoops.
just dunking on myself.
Yeah, tell me about it. See, that's why I got this nice SM7B. It does all the work for me. As I throw that in his face. But anyways, let's get on to the let's get into the first segment on Roma recap. We're gonna take a look at a video about a multi-state initiative in a change in our electoral college. Basically to change it for good, and let's see what this initiative is. But before we get started, that video that you first saw, that was I forgot. I didn't even catch the name. Look at me, I'm a bad host. I don't know which company. Let's see. That looks like from Robert Rake.
Right?
Yeah,
Right? I think I fixed
Reich.
it, by the way.
There it is. Now you're really loud.
I apologize. I can turn
Yeah.
it back a little bit.
Yeah, so Robert Reich, so they're talking about how in the last 5 electoral college elections, the president that won was not the popular vote.
Isn't that how it's supposed to be? That's actually how it's supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken. Like, you're supposed to not always have the most popular guy vote because that's direct democracy.
Well, yeah, they always talk about democracy every single day. So not
Which
like
is,
we get it. Okay. You say democracy, the other side says constitutional republic. Look, we are a representative democracy inside of a constitutional republic. All right. So the Constitution reigns supreme first, and then democracy reigns itself in underneath those guidelines. So that's how it works. But some people are just naive or just unaware of how our system works. So they try to destroy it. They try to destroy it for specific reasons. Now, when I talk about the Electoral College, the first thing I think of is, why was it created in the first place? Scrap?
it was created in the first place so that way states with more population didn't override states with less population because you have this has been the case from the beginning. Like, if you go read some of the things that the founder said in the Federalist Papers, they were not fans of democracy. They knew what would happen with mob rule. Mob rule
Yep.
is what happens in places like this, during the Summer of Love, as they tried to call it, during the BLM riots. Mob rule. People went in the streets and they, and even in DC, like those with in January 6th or 5/28 with the BLM riots. You get that many people, you're outvoted, right? You're done. Like, it's over. So what that means is, they were trying to balance the power because they wanted to give states equal representation at the federal government, regardless of their population, because they were a state. They were each their own country, so they got their own. And the other way they did that was with the Senate. The Senate was originally assigned by or chosen by the state legislatures, and they sent 2 representatives to represent the state. The House of Representatives is to represent the people according to population. And so what they did was they said, okay, we're going to take the number of reps you get from the House, and we're going to take your 2 senators, and that's the number of delegates you get in the Electoral College. And that's how they made that work.
Exactly. Now, taking away that right, what it does is, if you're in a state where 60% or 67% decide that they want to vote for, subject A, if you have this law in place, then those 67% become, I mean, their vote doesn't count.
No.
It doesn't count at all. Like, you become disenfranchised. This is what I don't understand. If you talk about having democracy or whatnot, and you think that everybody's vote is supposed to count, if you feel like in the current system that it's not, I feel like that's worse, because now it's people directly not being able to do so. Now, if a state has more voters for one person than the other, then the state goes for that particular candidate, right? So we understand why you have, the House of Representatives, and then, of course, the Senate, because the House represents the people and the Senate represents the state.
Right.
But I think that's also the reason why the Senate only has 2, because the state should not have more power than the people.
Right.
In that
And
same right.
yeah, that's why we've broken this up at every, like, and even the states are supposed to have, Republican style governments. They're supposed to be representative. You have districts, like, at your local level. You have, generally, what you have is you elect whether you're a township or at the city, your council people, and then they represent your ward.
Your mayor.
Your mayor, your sheriff is an elected official. He represents you. And so, like, these are all people that you directly elect. And then from there, based on their immediate constituency, then they do their job or not, depending on where you live, right? And your politics locally, you should be dealing with more so than at the federal level, because if your local politics are actually representing you, because I can walk down the street, I can go talk to and call up, and I have contacts with a lot of our local, politicians and council people in different towns and not just my own. And I'm building those relationships. I'm not saying I have influence right now, but like where we just moved into, we're settled in, and that's the thing you need. Because
Right.
these people at Washington, like, the farther up the chain you get, the farther away from you they are. So, like, democracy direct works better when it's small groups of people, like ordering pizza. But where it doesn't work is at the federal level or the global level, which some people want, and that's way out there. It's not going to happen. But then it's like entirely other people that do not live the way you live, whether it's just city folk versus rural folk, right? Then you have these massive population centers. If you look at a county map of what's red and blue, it's the population centers are all blue, and they're like little dots all over a big red carpet. Like, so what you're going to let now, that what they want to do is they want to set this thing up so that way when they get enough states, that have enough delegates that are over 270, this thing kicks into effect. And then all of those states, when those states go blue, even if they're like, and this is actually worse than that, because in Ohio or other states that have, because Ohio's a swing state, let's stay on topic, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're a 51% vote when it comes to ballot initiatives for our state constitution. So if they want to push this legislation or this compact as a constitutional amendment here, I'm not too sure if they can, because there are some restrictions to that and what things they can make constitutional amendments. But if they wanted to en route our state legislature, what that means is that this swing state that is generally purple, even on weed, like it took us forever to actually legalize that because we were on top of it. And it was even the pro weed people that were voting against it because there was big corporate interests and whatnot that wanted to make it a monopoly. So kudos to the 420 peeps in Ohio up till recently, because they snuck a bunch of woke stuff in it on this time and you voted for it. Sorry, I had to say it. But nonetheless, if they did that, now you have this state that where a good number of people, even if we manage to push the needle over and we want our delegates to go to whatever candidate, if we're in that compact, no matter who's in that compact, if they go the opposite way of the popular vote, it doesn't matter. Your majority vote in your state now is gone. So it will subvert democracy for those states, if you wish.
Right.
So that's what'll happen. It's not actually democratic. What'll happen is those other states that have massive populations, it will undo the very reason why we have an electoral college, is so that way California can't tell Ohio how to vote.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Well, two things. One, if you get rid of the electoral college, number one, it completely eliminates the entire reason why we have a Senate. Number two, what it does is the state of Florida, Texas, California, and New York would run the entire country.
Yes.
And every other state would have no say. Like literally every other state would have no say.
They could ask. We'll see what they're trying to do is take the swing states and turn them into their own. And then what'll happen is that thing that he was talking about, Robert Bernard Reich, his very complaint. See, this is the thing that the left does. This is one of their tactics. It's a part of their ethos, their whole tactic game plan, is they criticize the very thing they want to control. They don't.
Just let Texas decide for y'all.
Right. Right. Okay. No. See, like they criticize the thing they want to control until that thing falls apart, and then they swoop in, like the police. Let's defund the police and let's make it as hard as possible for good cops to do their job until they completely fall out and they leave, and then we'll backfill them with all the people that we want in there. That's what the left is doing. That's the same thing with this. They want to criticize the very thing that they want to control, that they know is built to not be controlled. It's built to level the field out.
Exactly.
So, yeah, get off my lawn says, let's disenfranchise our own state's voters. That's exactly what they want to do. They want to control this thing. Yeah.
And, and again, this show, Roma, Rise of Middle America, like, I know that it may seem like, we're pushing more of the right initiative, but the thing is that a lot of the issues that are happening are coming from the left. And I feel like a majority of the country sees this but don't know how to be active in educating people on how it should. Just because I agree with Scrap does not mean that I am right wing or left wing or whatever. It's just I'm bringing you the facts, and then we dissect it through, laws, rules, regulations, or whatnot, and say, okay, is this something that is okay to do, or is this something not okay to do? And if it's not, then we end up, you take it to court, and that's how it's supposed to work. But it seems like the left is constantly trying to subvert the systems that are in place. Like, one, they want to make sure that all of these states, as long as it counts to 270, disenfranchise 45 million voters. They want to add to the Supreme Court. They want to add a couple extra seats. What are they going to do? Are they going to go 2 and 2? No, of course they're not. It's not going to be a balance. It's just this constant push of a minority, which, yes, I do believe in this country that the left is the minority. It's just that you haven't seen the amount of Republican voters that don't vote.
That's, Christians in particular, because generally they're non-confrontational. People that are too busy dealing with their own lives and whatnot don't want to get into this kind of stuff until it's too late.
And by the way, I guess we'll go ahead and throw this ad out there now. If you are a left-leaning individual who would love to join us up here on stage, we are actually looking for one right now. So
it'd be nice.
It'd be really nice.
We were talking about this earlier. Rome and I both come from places that are left-leaning environments. Probably his more so than mine, but having been a musician,
way more.
I'm familiar. And it's like, what has happened is we're no longer allowed to exist in those spaces and have these opinions. We grew up, we decided, some of us decided we were going to, settle down, have families, and continue our hobbies, but our hobbies became infiltrated by vitriol. And instead of realizing that, I've known this guy for 20 years playing in bands with this dude, and I know what kind of dude he is and how he, goes about things, and then just asking him, hey, why are you, supporting this guy or that guy, and then trying to ingest that and dissect, okay, well, I know this dude's this way, so what they're saying in the news can't be completely true, because this guy's never been wrong to me, done me wrong. Instead, they instantly vilify you, and they go, oh, you're a bad person, and it's like, dude, I'm venting about a specific thing, obviously, right now. So it's like, a lot of the people that I know, they ran off the deep end on one side. And I'm like, where did you go? Why am I the bad guy when you guys are saying, come jump off the cliff with me? I'm like, I'm not jumping off the cliff with you. I'm not doing it.
Right.
So, but anyway, we want somebody on the other side that's like, maybe been in there still, is kind of like on that fence or over that way, that can articulate and have the conversations, because we need that. We need somebody who can not only just articulate your other side, but also can articulate this side. Because we've spent time learning the arguments of the left, if you will. We already know. He already knows the arguments of the left. He's had to figure out the arguments of the right. I've had to do it the opposite way. For the most part. Like, this is, so we're kind of like trading notes a lot of times.
Exactly. And it's part of the reason why Scrap and I work so well together. It's because we actually overlap in a lot of stuff, but when it comes to, constitutional things, we're very hard set on the Constitution and the way that it's laid out. Because I don't believe that the Constitution is something that is a hard document. No, it's a flexible document that's meant to breathe. And it's meant to change, with the times. And that's the reason why you have amendments. It's the reason why, you have to have the 67% and the 75%. The reason for that is so that it's not a direct democracy. That's not a 51%. It needs to be an overwhelming majority, a supermajority, basically, that says, okay, at least now we know if it's 67%, 33% can't really argue with that,
Yeah, that's what we wanted. We wanted the 60. We wanted a 2/3 majority. At the same time that there were left-leaning special interest groups astroturfing of these wide open abortion laws into our state, they shoved it into our Constitution. And a Constitution is in states are generally easy to add to, hard to change. Like, once you get something in, Like, you have to fight to get it out.
Mhm.
It's not like law where it's in the General Assembly and they can go and they can pass other law to amend it.
Mhm.
You have to get something back on the ballot in order to change constitutional things. And it should be more difficult than 51%. If it's 60% in a state and it's a majority like that, oh, okay, I guess. But sorry, I got a freaking bug in here. This rain came down these last couple days and it hatched a whole horde of awful, and they've gotten in the house. Anyway, yeah, there has to be a threshold, a barrier to changing things, because a lot of people have forgotten to ask why things are the way they are in the first place. You know, they've forgotten that, you know, that the Constitution isn't just the thing that keeps me having rights. It's the thing that gave Roma and his family rights eventually, you know, like through their heritage. So we have a mutual interest in this.
Yep, I've got
know?
one side of my family that arrived here in 1717, and the other side of my family had been here before the Constitution was written. So it's just got it. Nice. Now, it looks like Uncapped Turtle, our hero in disguise here from last week. He's got a little bit of information from Robert Ryek, is what he pronounces it, R-I-CK. He's funny. He goes, he's the 4-9 DNC operative from the way back. Robert Bernard Reich is an American professor, author, lawyer, and political commentator. He worked in the administrations of the presidents Gerald Ford and Jimmy Carter, and wow, he's old, and served as Secretary of Labor from 1993 to 1997 in the cabinet of President Bill Clinton. He was also a member of the President Barack Obama's Economic Transition Advisory Board. Man, so he's been here for 5 decades.
This guy is in the cult. Like, he is deep. He is deep as it gets when it comes to trying to push policy in ways that benefit their, you know, subversion of the Constitution.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's not like that what they're trying to do is illegal. But what they're doing, they've found one of the things that there's going to be stuff that the founders didn't think of. And these things come up, just like we tried to change in Ohio with, we attempted to make it a 60% to keep that out, to keep the abortion thing from getting ramrodded through, but it got in anyway. And what's crazy is, like, those people that voted it down, the amendment to solidify and harden the Constitution so it can't be subverted, they cut their own nose off. Because what happens when things swing the other way? What are you going to do when it swings back the other direction? What happens to these states if a Ronald Reagan-esque landslide happens? And some of them are in the pact, okay, California went blue, but all of the rest of the states went red in their pact, and now the whole pact has to go. You know, like, sorry, like, you guys just nullified your vote. You cut off your nose to spite your face on this.
Exactly. You nullified 5 million votes. Or how many people are in California? That's a
lot.
Yeah, and not a lot of them vote either. I think it's something like 30% of them actually vote. Like, it's so crazy. I don't know. Somebody in the comment section help us out on that. But anyway, so that first video that you guys saw was from him. Now we're going to give you sort of like the other side and the other perspective on this. And this is from, it looks like, Facts Matter with Roman Balma. And Scrap, if you can kill that music, we're going to go ahead and listen to this guy and see what he has to say about it.
Trying to get there.
Oh my God.
There it is. All right.
Boom.
Legislature of Maine became the 17th in the nation to pass a bill which will effectively eliminate the Electoral College. Because you see, unbeknownst to most people, there is a serious effort in this country to make presidential elections a simple majority popular vote. And even though most people have never heard about this effort, well, it's actually already 76%
until
complete,
literally yesterday.
That the Electoral College is truly at risk of getting completely scrapped in the next few years. This effort, it's officially called the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact, otherwise known as the NPVIC. And what it basically is, it's an agreement between the states that join to give their collective electoral votes to whichever candidate happens to win the popular vote at the national level. Let me briefly explain. Up on your screen is a map of the Electoral College votes by state. This is the most recent map based on the 2020 census results. Every state has Electoral College votes equal to the number of representatives that they have in Congress at the federal level. And so, for instance, the state of Texas, they have 2 senators as well as 38 members of the House, and therefore they have 40 votes total in the Electoral College. Now, the way that the Electoral College has evolved over the last 250 years is kind of a long story, but relevant to our discussion today, it's worth highlighting that every individual state gets to decide how they apportion their votes, meaning that the state legislatures in each state, they get to decide how they divvy out their Electoral College votes. And so at this moment, the way that it works in practice is that whichever candidate wins a plurality of votes in a given state, meaning whoever wins the popular vote in a state, they get that state's Electoral College votes. This is the way it works for every state except for 2. Nebraska and Maine, they actually split up their Electoral College votes based on congressional districts. And they can do this, again, because states can decide how to divvy up their votes. The Electoral College system itself was established by Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution. But states, they retain the ability to run their own elections and to decide how they apportion their Electoral College votes. It's an aspect of our federalist system. And so opponents of the Electoral College system, they have used this as a sort of loophole to try and destroy it. Because you see, if you wanted to get rid of the Electoral College system in the normal way, you would have to amend the U.S. Constitution, which is realistically not possible. There is not enough support to get rid of the Electoral College by passing an actual amendment to the U.S. Constitution. And so instead, what opponents of the Electoral College system have been doing is that they've been working to get rid of it using the back door by having individual states sign up for something known as the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact, or the NPVIC. And
Pause that right there. So what was that? That was the NP, the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. All right. So what they're talking about here, dude, we should have done a constitutional corner on this.
I mean, here we are.
I think we need to do that sometime next season. Absolutely. So so at least so everybody can take a snapshot of this and they know like what it is. I don't know. I think the point of having the Senate have 2 senators was so that the states couldn't overpower the people. But what it seems like is that they're finding a loophole with the congregation of states to do this. I don't understand why a lot of the swing states would do this, because you can put it into law, but if it swings hard back in the other direction, you don't want them to spite you doing this and then make it not only take it away, but also make it much harder to do it again.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to get a swing state to get into this because we fight so hard within our states already. And that's not to say that our states have vitriolic, politics within them where we fight so hard. It's just that we have the conversations at our local level, and they're good, a lot of them. Like, I think every state should be a swing state. There shouldn't be one state that is a dedicated red or blue. It should be a toss up because if you're not doing it right, I'm sorry. If you aren't a swing state, you're not doing it right. You have homogenized into a place where you're too comfortable. You're way too comfortable because both parties have been shown over time to not be in the best interest of the people at times. When especially because there are real things that Bernard Reich, Robert Reich, he pulls up that said that where this is why primarying is actually effective, because in states where they just run incumbents unchallenged many times, it's very easy to go in if you can stir up the vote against somebody and you can knock somebody out in the primary, within the party. But in states that are swing states, you absolutely have to have somebody that that you can win a general on. You have to. You can't. It's not just, oh, okay, this is politics as usual, and they're just going to have a revolving door. That stuff still happens in swing states to some degree, but people are paying more attention in swing states than the rest of you.
Exactly.
You know, in a way. So it's good to have that, but they're trying to attack it, right? It's a thing. It's a good thing that they don't like. Like I was saying.
Yeah, and they're only attacking the parts that disenfranchise the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one thing that I can't get behind.
And
You know, if you it's like being a sore loser. It's like I can't win, so I have to rig the rules. So instead, you know, for example, basketball, you know, you're bigger, stronger, and faster than I am. So now you have to play with your feet on the ground. You cannot jump. You can't move. Your feet are solid.
right.
Okay,
Instead of just
now
playing
it's a
by the
fair game.
rules
Right.
as they are. Oh, this is one of the things that he doesn't bring up. That is also a problem is you have states or areas where you have homogeny in one area, right? And so when you have homogeny, one of the things that happens is Republicans, up until I think the last few years, have been really bad about the minority vote because it has been dominated by the left and Democrats.
Mhm.
And they just don't go into those areas. But we've had a shift. The whole political window has shifted, and there are more and more people. I don't know if you watched. I don't know if you didn't have the chance to watch Trump's speech tonight.
No.
He had this one lady on there from Georgia, where I guess she was a waitress, but she said she was talking about she's got a podcast and everything, black lady. And Trump told this story about when he went into the diner there. She was like, "Oh, hey, you saved my college." And it's like,
Yeah.
you know, the thing that the left does is that they just pander all the time, where the right, they generally are just like, you know, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. But the thing the left does that's good is they actually go in and meet people on the ground. A lot of times they're not afraid to walk into places. The right, they are, because they've just been so stiff for so long. But there's now this new blood that's coming into the party with Trump, who's just like, I don't care, I'm who I am, you know. And you're getting these minority votes in too. It's starting to get better. Whereas traditionally, you know, a lot of these homogenized places, like the Republicans never bothered. They're like, well, that neighborhood over there, whatever, we're never going to get their vote.
Exactly.
You know?
Or let's
Anyway.
push through with this video so we can get it. If Beard, if you can kill the music, I'm gonna go ahead and get this started.
I'm sorry, I didn't know
or
you
the
didn't want to go that far.
NPVIC.
No, you're good.
And
you're good.
the NPVIC is an agreement
No, we
between
needed to say
states
it.
to give their collective electoral college votes to whichever candidate happens to win the national popular vote. Quote, a California millionaire named John Koza is trying to undo the electoral college. He is leading and funding the national popular vote campaign. Their plan is to get state governments to ignore how their own citizens vote in presidential elections and instead get them to cast their electoral votes based on the national popular vote. If it works, this will be like getting rid of the electoral college, but without actually amending the Constitution. NPV only takes effect if it is joined by enough states that they control 270 electoral votes, which would then control the outcome of all future presidential elections. If that happens, and if the courts do not strike it down, big cities will gain more political power at the expense of everyone else. And so what's been happening in this country since about...
That's what I said here. I was like, that's like if that means Texas, California, New York, and Florida, and I'll throw Illinois in there as well, would be running the entire country.
I want to say something about John Koza also. This guy, I just picked his Wikipedia up. Computer scientist and former adjunct professor at Stanford, most notable for his work in pioneering in the use of genetic programming, not like DNA, but it's for complex problem solving.
Right.
Koza co-founded Scientific Games Corporation, which builds computer systems to run on state lotteries in the United States. He also credited with being the creator of the scratch-off card with help of retail promotion specialist Daniel Bauer. This guy is a professional house of gambling. He knows how to build the stuff that makes the House win.
There it is.
Let's go.
That's crazy.
About 2006 is that state legislatures in blue states, they've been passing these NPVIC laws. At the moment, 16 states, as well as the District of Columbia, have successfully passed the NPVIC laws, which are now on the books. For your reference, the states are as follows. You have Maryland, New Jersey, Illinois, Hawaii, Washington State, Massachusetts, Vermont, California, Rhode Island, New York, Connecticut, Colorado, Delaware, New Mexico, Oregon, Minnesota, and then also Washington, D.C. In total, this block represents 205 electoral college votes, which is 76% of the necessary total. And so, because they have not reached that 270 threshold, these NPVIC laws, they are on the books in those states, but they're dormant. They haven't yet gone into effect. However, if and when enough states join this compact to add up to 270 votes, the laws will be triggered, and overnight, the Electoral College will effectively be eliminated. Because at the very moment when this National Popular Vote Compact has 270 votes total, the states that have signed on will automatically shift the way that their system works to give their Electoral College votes to whoever happens to win the National Popular Vote. And so the moment that happens, the US president will suddenly be decided by a simple majority vote. Whoever is able to win the masses in big cities will be able to win the presidency, while the people living in the rural countryside will essentially become serfs, unable to affect policy at the national level moving forward. But here's the thing. While we're not there quite yet, looking across the whole country, it's actually feasible that within the next few years, probably within the next 4 or 5, maybe 6 years, enough states might join the compact to activate the change. That's because right now, the NPVIC is missing only 65 electoral college votes. However, at the same time, you have 11 states that have NPVIC bills working through their state legislatures. And these 11 states, they together represent 101 electoral college votes. And here's the status generally of these 11 states. Just last week, over in Maine, the NPVIC bill passed both the state Senate as well as the state Assembly and is now sitting on the governor's desk awaiting signature. The governor there has 3 more days to either sign the bill or to veto it. However, if she doesn't do anything, it'll automatically become law without her signature in 3 days. Then you have Nevada, where the NPVIC bill also passed both the state Senate as well as the state House. However, over in Nevada, this type of bill actually does not need to be signed by the governor. Instead, because this bill amends the state constitution, it must pass the legislature again in the year 2025, and then afterwards, there must be a statewide vote in order for it to be enacted. And this whole process, it might take about 2 years. And then in the other 9 states that you can see up on your screen, they all have NPVIC bills going through the committee process in the state Senate, the state Assembly, or both. And so we'll have to wait and see how this process plays itself out in those states. But until then, you really do have to admire this type of a scheme. Objectively speaking, it is incredibly smart, using a backdoor way to get rid of the Electoral College by just having enough states join a block to add up to 270 votes and then agree to give those votes to whoever wins the popular vote. In terms of a strategy, it is quite literally brilliant. Although, obviously, the end result will be something that the framers of this country wished would never happen. The obliteration of the Electoral College alongside a shift towards a direct democracy, something, again, that the founding fathers feared. Although, I'd love to know your thoughts on this issue. Do you think that moving America towards having a popular vote is a good idea? Or do you think that it runs the real risk of majority rule that completely strips away the rights of the minority? I'd love to know your thoughts. Leave them in the comment section below tonight as well as later into the week. And as you're making your way down there to the description box, well, rather the comment section, take a quick detour to smash those like and subscribe buttons so that this information can reach ever more people via the YouTube algorithm. All right, just to pause here for a super quick moment. Listen, it's obvious that the financial system is not looking too great.
It's an inline
After
ad.
being pumped out with trillions of virtually free government.
No.
No.
Oh. Where's someone else? Oh.
Look at that. There's the most replayed is right there, of course, because that's where the ad ends. That's hilarious. All right.
So, and then lastly, if you enjoyed today's content and you're thinking to yourself, man, I love this episode. I just wish Roma would put out more episodes every single week.
Did he say Roma?
Did he just say Roma?
Roma? He wished
Hold up.
Roma.
I wish Roma would hold on. I got to do this. I have to.
We have to clip this.
Hold on.
So,
Clip it.
and then lastly, If you enjoyed today's content and you're thinking to yourself, man, I love this episode. I just wish Roman would put out more episodes every single week.
We're using it. We're using it. Fair use.
Awesome
Dude,
no censorship video
Turtle,
platform.
clip
I publish
that.
anywhere between 1 to 3
Clip it
exclusive
now.
episodes of Facts Matter every single
We're using
week.
it. I just
Usually
wish
on
Roman
topics
put
that
out
are
more
unfortunately
content.
too spicy for here on YouTube.
I need
And so
that.
if you'd like to get access to those exclusive episodes, including a huge
yes.
backlog from the last
All right, I'll go. We're gonna
All right,
kill
he's
it
just
there.
plugging his own stuff at this point, dude.
Dude,
was-
did he
it was
just plug me?
He did. He
Oh
said
man.
Epoch Times we endorses ROMA Nation.
Unofficially. Officially.
Not really, but
it
it sounded like it. Allegedly.
totally did. I'm just gonna roll with it. You can take me to court. But anyways. But yeah, so to kind of close that out, I mean, I've already said my piece. There was a third thing I wanted to mention, and it popped into my head when I was mentioning the other two, is that I think that when they created the Electoral College, I believe that there were things in the future that they didn't know it would have protected against that we know now that it protects against.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those things is they didn't know that the federal government was going to get as big as it did.
Right.
So they were actually firmly against having a large for them. I mean, they were a lot more libertarian back then than anything else.
I mean,
At
come
least-
on. They had riots over 3% tax. Where are we?
Bro, they destroyed more tea than Lipton on one day because of this. But oh God, I just lost my train of thought. It was such a good. So going back to it protecting, what it does is it protects against the federal government coming in and meddling in certain elections. Because let's say if, I don't know, President Trump decides to go into Texas and blow up the vote somehow by, I don't know, throwing in a bunch of electoral votes. Well, guess what? That protects against it because you only get so many electoral college votes. So it only goes up to that point. It's the same
I
thing
get
in
what you're
Biden.
saying. So if
Same
like
thing
one
in
state,
California.
like if one state or another decides that they're going to rig their own election, they only get so much to rig. Whereas
There's a
this,
ceiling.
if all those states come together and say, "Hey, we're all going to agree," but it makes, like you're saying, it makes no sense for blue states. These are the states that are doing this are hard blue.
Mhm.
They're entrenched blue states that are trying to capture swing states. That's literally all it is. They're trying to capture swing states. Don't let them trick you into thinking that they just want to make everything fair and equal, because it's not. They're trying to subvert the swing states into doing this, and they will do
Exactly.
it if they can get away with it. You need to protect your own vote in your state. Don't go into another pact with another state. Don't do it.
Subvert,
It's a trap.
like I said before, subverting your vote, subverting the Supreme Court, subverting the Electoral College. It's all about making you less powerful to make them more powerful. When I say them, I'm not talking about the actual voter. I'm not talking about the Democratic or Republican voter. We're talking about this little oligarch that's sitting at the top that thinks that they control everything.
Autocrats and the deep state,
The deep state, whatever you want to call it.
party.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's trying to take control, because they know that they, without that control, they really can't do anything. They can't enrich themselves. They can't, put it, whatever, insert Alex Jones quote here. But
Don't like it when they try to make the freaking vote gay.
turn the frogs gay. But anyways, let's go ahead and move on to our second. We spent I'm telling you, we need to do a constitutional corner on this and bring somebody on that has a good understanding.
Anybody
And-
have Robert Barnes on speed dial?
Yeah, right. I wish.
That would be a night. That'd be an evening. We'd blow
That-
up. We
yeah.
have to be much bigger than we are to attract that guy. Let's get it.
Anyways, let's move on. So last week we started part one of a 3-part series on Russiagate's Uncensored, is what I like to call it, because that's what we're doing. And we talked about CrowdStrike and their involvement in 2016 and all the ins and outs, and Turtle gave us a masterful understanding of how all those pieces fit together. And at the end of the day, what we found out is that because there's one particular bank that was part of one particular server in the Trump Tower in New York, they were able to basically spy on everything that he was doing, through a bunch of different loopholes or whatnot. I'm not sure if they're closed by now. It's probably the reason why they wanted to take his property because they didn't want people knowing about it. Yeah. But tonight we're going to get into the ins and outs of the Trump presidency and the congressional inquiry into the Trump administration and what transpired during the testimonies. Let's see. We're going to start with early 2017. All right. So in that January of 2017, the FISA court agreed to extend the FBI's surveillance of Carter Page, which, I mean, I need to get in one of these days. I'm going to get into it with the FISA court because I really think that thing needs to go. Either it needs to go or there needs to be representation on the other side. Period. Like that, a court like that is so unconstitutional, it's not even funny. But anyways, he was a foreign advisor, Carter Page, to the Trump campaign, and in an advanced meeting with the U.S. intelligence officials about Russia's interference in the U.S. elections. Trump tweets, the intelligence briefing on the so-called Russian hacking was delayed. Perhaps more time is needed to build a case. Very strange. I remember that. And then, so between January and April, in the first third of the year, January 6th, the Office and Director of National Intelligence releases a declassified intelligence report that says, let's see what we got here. This is the declassified report. If I can pull it up. And it says, quote, "We assess Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered an influence campaign in 2016 aimed at the U.S. presidential election. Russia's goals were to undermine public faith in the U.S. democratic process, denigrate Secretary Clinton, and harm her electability and potential presidency. We further assess Putin and the Russian government developed a clear preference for President-elect Trump." I had to go through and look up different keywords for that one. But anyways, so the DNI report contained no evidence of collusion between Russia and the Trump campaign. Intelligence officials briefed Trump on their findings. After the briefing, Comey remains alone in the room and with the president-elect brief Trump on what Comey would later call some personally sensitive aspects of information assembled during the assessment that were salacious and unverified. So, if you guys wanted to know whether this actually happened, that salacious and unverified line didn't come to us until 4 years later. Because nobody knew about this.
He said, she said.
It was all he said, she said. But the media ran with this for years. Years and years and years. And nobody said anything. And they knew this in 2017. All right, so on January 24th, 2 days after he takes office, the President Trump's national security advisor, Flynn, is interviewed by FBI agents. He's asked about two conversations that he had with Kislyak, a Russian ambassador to the United States, in December of 2016, and when Flynn was still a private citizen before Trump took office. Flynn tells the FBI agents that he had not asked Kislyak in a December 29, 2016 conversation for Russia to refrain from retaliating after the Obama administration announced sanctions that day against Russia for interfering in the 2016 elections. He also says he did not ask Kislyak in a December 22, 2016 conversation at Russia to delay or defeat a UN Security Council resolution approved December 23, 2016 that would have condemned Israel's building of settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. Uh-oh. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. So So essentially, Obama gave sanctions to Russia on something that they created themselves. You see where we're
Sounds
going with
about
this?
right.
Yeah. All right. So, February 13th and 14th, Flynn resigns. He acknowledges that he misled Pence and others in the administration about his conversation with Kislyak. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Flynn?
I see Flynn's one of those Q guys. He's one of those officials that rests squarely in the eye of the storm, as it were. You know, if you all our Q guys out here just freaked out because I said that. Because of the storm, and then all the blue anons on the left that want to scream, "See, he's dog whistling racism. He's in the storm."
Yeah, and
You know,
it's funny.
like, I'm sorry, that's that. But with Flynn, I don't know how to take Flynn because he's one of those guys that, like, never said anything to, like, this QAnon thing was just a phenomenon that happened in such a way that the media was allowed to beat us over the head with, and guys like Flynn never once came out and just said, "No, I'm not involved with any of that." Instead, everything he did was just straight up QAnon dog whistle-y stuff, if not outright. And if you guys remember anything about what I've talked about, we've talked about QAnon, and we're gonna have to redo it because our first couple episodes got borked. QAnon was Operation Trust 2.0 Electric Boogaloo which is just a replay of what the Bolsheviks did. I don't have time to go into all that. But if you go look into all that, Flynn is one of these guys that I don't know if he was just if he got in the Q psyop and they outed him, or if he was somebody that took the fall for it and was promoting the Q, like, you know, kind of egging on the Q people that all, like, got in on it and were like, "Oh yeah, Q's this thing and Trump's gonna arrest all the pedophiles in the government and all that." Like Flynn's one of those weird guys that's, like, in the middle of it, but I never could figure out if he was instigating it or if he was a patsy or if he believed it and was a fall guy. Like, I don't know. I just don't trust him.
Or maybe he instigated it not knowing what it was, and then when he realized what it was, he was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And then they threw it all on him because he backtracked. And the person that makes the most distance in between is typically the guy that you're going to look at. So. Yeah,
I'm not sure. He's somebody that still is technically on our side or whatever, but it's like, I don't know. I'd take him or leave him at this point, personally.
Yeah. And if you guys want to know about that, you can go back in the archives of Roma Nation. That was actually our very first 3 shows.
Episode 3 is the only one you're going to get to watch because the first 2 got messed up in the recording process. We were still tooling, but we'll revisit down the road, and we'll do like we'll pre-record some stuff and put it out.
Right. And not only that, no, I think what we should do is we should just do one whole show on QAnon and just go from beginning to end and just condense it.
That would be easy, I think.
Yeah, that'd be the easiest way. All right, so let's move on to March 4th. In a flurry of tweets, Trump accuses Obama of illegally tapping my phones in October during a very scared election process. He compares Obama's actions to Watergate and calls the former president a bad or sick guy. Trump presents no evidence that Obama was tapping his phones. On March 20th, FBI Director Comey confirms the existence of FBI investigation at a hearing in the House Intelligence Committee. Comey tells the committee that the agency is investigating the Russian government efforts and to interfere in the 2016 presidential election, and it includes investigations in nature of links between individuals associated with the Trump campaign on the Russian government and whether there was any coordination between the campaign and Russia's efforts. And then in early April, the FISA court agrees to extend the FBI surveillance of Carter Page, who was a foreign policy advisor to the Trump campaign. All right, so let's go into Carter Page. There we go. Get that out of here. All right, so Carter Page, Wikipedia. Carter William Page, born June 3rd, 1971, is an American petroleum industry consultant and a former foreign policy advisor to Donald Trump during his 2016 presidential election. Page is the founder and the managing partner of Global Energy Capital, a one-man investment fund and consulting firm specializing in Russian and Central Asian oil and gas business. Page is the focus of the 2017 special counsel investigation into the many suspicious links between Trump associates and the Russian officials and spies, and Russian interference on behalf of Trump during the 2016 presidential election. In April 2019, the Mueller report concluded that the investigation did not establish that Page coordinated in Russia's interference efforts. In December 2019, the Inspector General of the Department of Justice, Michael E. Horowitz, issued a report and an inquiry into the Federal Bureau of Investigations of the investigation of 2016 Trump campaign and its ties to Russia. Horowitz found fault with specific aspects of the FBI's conduct, including omissions of facts and false statements to the FISA court when applying for a warrant and conducting surveillance on Page. Again, this is why the FISA court needs to go. But I'm pretty sure there's still people out there that think that, you know, Russian collusion actually happened, which most of us don't. But anyways, let's go ahead and move on. What do we got? So now that was early 2017. So let's move into late 2017. So let's start with May 5th. The National Security.
It's not that late.
Yeah, I know.
It's
Right?
only the 5th month. Okay, it's halfway. Mid. It's mid. Like this show.
Yeah, we're mids.
I'm sorry. I'm trolling you.
Jesus. I want to thank you guys for having us on ROMA Nation. No, just kidding. Please like, comment, subscribe. Anyways, on May 5th, the National Security Agency says in a detailed classified report that the Russian military intelligence operation carried out cyber attacks in 2016 on a company that supplies software for voting machines in 8 U.S. states. The report contains no evidence that any votes were changed as a result of the hack. On May 17th, Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General, appoints former FBI Director Robert S. Mueller as special counsel to investigate possible collusion between Trump campaign and the Russian government efforts to influence the 2016 presidential election. Then on May 31st, the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence Issues and Subpoenas for testimony, documents, and business records from Flynn and Michael Cohen, a personal attorney to the president. We all know about Michael Cohen now. My goodness. All right, so now we're going to go into, this is USA Today. All right, so the House Intelligence Committee issues subpoenas in Russian probe. The House Intelligence Committee issued subpoenas Wednesday, and this was, hold on, when was this? Looks like May 31st, 2017. All right, let's make sure my dates are correct. Wednesday for testimony, documents, business records for National Security Advisor Michael Flynn and President Trump's personal attorney Michael Cohen as part of an investigation into Russian interference in last year's presidential election, which was 2016. As a part of our ongoing investigation into Russia active measures during the 2016 campaign today, we approved subpoenas for several individuals' testimony, personal documents, and business records, said to a joint statement from Reps Mike Conaway, a Republican from Texas, and Adam Schiff, Democrat from California. What do you think of Adam Schiff? Never mind. Don't answer that question. That's rhetorical. Who are leading the House committee's inquiry. Quote, we hope that inspect that anyone called to testify or provide documents will comply with the requests so that we may gain all the information within the scope of our investigation. We'll continue to pursue this investigation, wherever the facts may lead. I think this was the first time where they finally got to Michael Cohen. And isn't this where he lied under oath?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's the same thing, because they got him on something and he ended up getting in a lot of trouble. And I think this is because he didn't get any protection from Trump. Fast forward a couple years later, you see what happened a couple months ago.
I'm not entirely sure.
True, but something just came to mind. This is probably where they got all the financial information, which led to all those indictments.
I remember now. Michael Cohen was on the stand during the recent Trump money hush money scandal thing, because they were trying to get Trump on misappropriating campaign funds and criminal, the 34 counts of felony that they convicted him on or charged him with or whatever. Cohen was on the stand admitting to having stolen from Trump in paying himself back the hush money that Cohen paid out of his own pocket. But statute of limitations is up, so they can't do anything to him. That's what I think you're thinking of. He admitted that on the stand.
Vashnik over here at Rumble, he says, I thought he stole from Trump. Yeah, he did. And I think that's where they figured it out.
Because he billed him. He billed him for the value of that hush money that he paid Stormy Daniels. And regardless of what you think, whether Trump gave him the nod to do it or not, there's no paper trail for it. There's no evidence that Trump gave him the go-ahead. And instead, Cohen went on the stand and acknowledged that he went ahead and did it of his own volition and then billed Trump for it.
So now you understand why, when we look at this guilty verdict in New York, it's like he said on this end to Congress that he did it on his own volition, but then came back to the New York courts and said, oh no, he definitely told. So which one is it? Because you've committed perjury twice.
Yeah, he's lied every time he's got up on a stand, and then eventually it had to be drug out of him.
Exactly. So
once
how
he
in the
had
world
immunity, basically.
Exactly. So how in the world did the jury just say, "Oh no, he definitely we believe you this time"? Like that alone should throw that out in a higher court, because it's up to
the fixer, didn't they?
Yeah, pretty much. But the fixer got fixed. He fixed himself.
He got.
Yeah, right. So that, how can his testimony been that damning, knowing that he was already a criminal perjurer, but nobody wanted to listen to that? But I mean, it didn't really come out that much because the media wouldn't cover it. But now you guys know. All right, so let's move.
Trump went to trial in Gotham City, is what happened.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
There's no Batman to save us.
And then June 7th, Trump announced his intentions to nominate Christopher Wray, big mistake, to replace Comey as the FBI director. Wray was an assistant U.S. Attorney General in the Bush administration in charge of the Justice Department's Criminal Prosecutions Division. And this comes from, looks like the Washington Post. Special counsel is investigating Trump for possibly obstruction of justice. This was June 14th to 15th, I believe. Let's see, where's the dates? Get out of here. No, I don't want to subscribe to you. All right, this is, June 14th. Special counsel overseeing the investigation into Russia's role in the 2016 election is interviewing senior intelligence officials as part of a widening probe that now includes examination of whether President Trump attempted to obstruct justice, officials said. The move by special counsel Robert Miller to investigate Trump's conduct marks a major turning point in a nearly year-old FBI investigation, which until recently focused on Russian meddling during the presidential campaign and whether there was any coordination between the Trump campaign and the Kremlin. Investigations have also been looking for any evidence of possible financial crimes among Trump associates, officials said. So now that we don't know, and then you had that viral video that went on X last week of Hillary Clinton going, he's working with the Russians, and Bill Clinton's over there, thinking about Monica Lewinsky, but they lie right out in front in the public and in the open now, because there's no way they can hide it. See, here's the thing. It's not hard to figure this stuff out. You just need the right puzzle pieces. Okay, so think of it like this. If you're playing a sandbox game and you start in a specific area, right? This area is lit up because you visited that area, but the rest of the map is dark. You don't know what's out there. Say you teleport over here. All right, boom. Now this area starts to light up. You don't know what's in the middle, but at least you know what's over here, and you start picking up clues. Then you teleport over here. Boom. And then eventually the map starts to light up. All right. For me personally, it was right around when COVID hit and everybody lost their jobs, including myself. I was one of them. That's when I was able to go in and do a bunch of research and go on the internet and like kind of put pieces together. And eventually I was like, oh my goodness, now I understand what's happened the last, 25, 30 years. And a lot of people are at that point now. So you're not going to get away with it this time. A lot of people are not buying a lot of this, extreme rhetoric about bad things happening because we already know the answer. It's just, people
just look at the people that are coming out of the woodwork and starting to not care.
Exactly.
About, there's more Trump supporters because they failed to kill him than there ever were now. People that were secretly or on the fence are now voting and being out about it. Like, if you want to talk about, all of these things that have been levied against Trump with unsubstantiated claims against him, like they always want to say, Trump said this thing that was unsubstantiated. There's no evidence. It's baseless. It's like, well,
prove it.
You sit and they're projecting.
Yeah.
they're calling. It's what James Lindsay calls the iron law of woke projection. Like the accuser, or like when there's somebody who's abusing someone else, a lot of times they want to cry foul and act like they're the victim. Oh, you made me do this. When really they're the ones instigating it. Like, really, guys.
But you notice that after the debate, the first debate, that the right was very silent, and they were silent for a reason, because they didn't have to say anything. They didn't have to say a word. They were like, they were telling everybody leading right up to it. They were like, you know what? Let it happen. And we'll let the whole world see. And the whole world saw. And they were like, told you. And they moved on with their lives. But then I started seeing posts and things about, oh, well, Biden just had a bad day. And it's like, it's posts like that push people away. They're like, okay, yeah, you're clearly, if you can't see this, then I think it's the reason why they had to move on from him so quickly. We all knew it was going to happen. There was no way that they were going to survive another debate.
I think a lot of the game plan that's in the opposition to Trump, and not really the opposition to our constitutional republic, is they've had to push their game plan up. I think between Biden's health falling apart, which is sad, and Trump surviving the assassination attempt, they've had to move a lot of things forward that they didn't expect to have to move forward. Like, it's not even October yet. How many Black Swan events have we had? All back to back. Or, we've had the biggest Joe Biden gaffe extravaganza special that we've ever seen with that debate. Trump almost lost his life. A massive cyber incident happened with CrowdStrike, which then subsequently they've recently admitted in the last week that they've had threat actors inside. Yes, a major security firm, cybersecurity firm. Not, I think they're more a propaganda firm anyway, because their involvement with the DNC and all that, and the Russiagate stuff we talked about last week. But let's just give them their title for the moment. They pushed an update that crashed 8 million Windows machines to blue screen that had to be manually fixed. and then they admit a week later or so, like, that they had threat actors in their servers, in their network, that then are selling their secrets to the open internet. Like all of their threat vector data, the stuff that they're supposed to be collecting, where they're tracking all of these hacker groups and stuff. Now that's on the web.
Yeah, exactly.
What good are they?
And the thing is that once it's out, there's nothing you can do. What are you going to do? Sanction them? You can't. You can't. I mean, it's like, oh, well, sorry about your luck. Here's your $3. You know?
And
Like,
they'll
what are
never
you
go
supposed to do?
anywhere because they get no bid contracts from the federal government, and the DNC pays them. Oh, and did we mention that they were out of Ukraine last week? So anyway,
I'm not even sure, but we'll have to get with Turtle on that one. All right, so let's go ahead and close out this segment. So we got September 6th, Facebook announces that it identified roughly 3,000 politically related ad buys connected to 470 fake accounts. All right, and it found that they had approximately $100,000 in ad spending from June 2015 to May of 2017, associated with roughly 3,000 ads that was connected to about 470 inauthentic accounts and pages in violation of the policies. The analysis suggested that the accounts and pages were affiliated with one another and likely operated out of Russia.
So you could easily, this is one of those attribution things where you could very easily get a VPN. There are plenty of gray market. I'm not going to advocate for this. I'm just saying it exists. There are plenty of gray market areas on the internet where you can purchase, stolen funds and credit cards and gift cards and things for fairly cheap. And there are Russian server farms that are willing to pay anybody or take money from anybody. And you can go you can access them that exist in Russia. And you can buy these server farms and you can rent them. And then you can do whatever you want from them. It's very easy, like, to do this, because Russia fights them too. Like just like any, let's not pretend that Russia has more hackers than we do, in any other country, right? Threat act, like, think of hackers and like these pseudo nefarious tech people that exist in different countries, kind of like privateers of the old days of pirates and stuff on the high seas. Countries would enlist guys that had ships with guns and crews and things to go do their dirty work. And if you were in the waters of whoever was paying you, you were good. But if you were out somewhere else, you were, you had multiple flags that you could put up. This is where we get the term false flag, because these ships would run up a flag that looked like another, like whoever they were, whoever their target was, they would fly a flag that got them kind of under the radar, and they would do something nefarious underneath of that flag, and it would be false attribution. This is the kind of thing that's happening here. Is they're saying, oh, all these server farms or whoever it was out of Russia bought all this bad advertising on Facebook, which really didn't amount to much. It's just a drop in the bucket compared to what our own campaigns in this country drop on advertising. Okay, this is nothing.
Yeah, $100,000.
Literally nothing. So in later reports from even out of Facebook and other political and analysts said, look, this is a nothing burger. So basically, they spent a little bit of money to go rent some servers in Russia and buy ads back over here on Facebook in order to track it and say, oh, look, the Russians are... Oh, no, the Russians are coming. The Russians are coming. No. This is very easily just wiped under the rug and just explained away.
Yeah, because on October 2nd, that's when they gave the Senate and House Intelligence Committees, the 3,000 ads linked to Russia. So of course it's like, oh, it has to be collaborated. But at this point, the government already knows that it has nothing to do with Trump. So now when you're starting to see all these things come out about Russia wanting Trump to be president, it's not because they think that Trump is running with them. They're trying to create a scapegoat, and by any means necessary. So, and then that's when we go back to Carter Page. because on November 2nd that year, Carter Page, the foreign policy advisor, he testified in the House Intelligence Committee about I think it was a closed door hearing, and according to a transcript, he tells the committee that he briefly exchanged some nice pleasantries with Russian Deputy Prime Minister Arkady Dvorkovich, and this was during his July 8th, 2016 trip to Moscow, where both men had spoke at the commencement ceremony of the new economic school. So I mean, just seems more like business as usual. Page also, he confirmed that he wrote down an email to campaign to policy aides J.D. Gordon and Tara Dahl about, on a related front, he's going to send him a readout soon regarding the incredible insights and outreach received from a few Russian legislators and senior members of the presidential administration there. But under questioning, he had gained those incredible insights by listening to Dvorkovich's speech and regarding the Moscow newspapers, but not from meetings from the Russian government officials. Well, I mean, isn't that perjury?
Sounds like it.
Yeah. All right.
This is this is the web of lies that come around to catch them. Some of these guys tell so many lies they forget that they told them.
Yeah, exactly. That's how they kind of circle around and get you. That's why when detectives bring you in, they bring you in for 5 hours for questioning. They'll ask you kind of the similar questions and go in circles to see if your story changes, and they can tell, where your story changes, if whether you're, guilty or innocent. And that's how they get you. All right. So back in December 1st, retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, President Trump's former national security advisor, pleads guilty, making false statements to the FBI, or one false statement. That's why I'm kind of like, I mean, people are going to lie in certain areas to kind of cover themselves. About the two agents discussing he had with Sergei Kislyak and the Russian ambassador to the United States, and which he was a private citizen when he took office. All right. And then the very last thing we're going to go over here is, this was ABC News. Flynn prepared to testify that Trump directed him to contact Russians about ISIS, which I don't know what that has anything to do with it. But the special counsel Russia investigation, and according to the confidant, is prepared to testify that Donald Trump directed him to make contact with Russians initially as a way to work together to fight ISIS in Syria. The stunning turns comes Flynn pleaded guilty to one count and lying to the FBI count on his back channel negotiations with the Russian ambassador. Talks that occurred before Trump took office. Special counsel made plea agreement public Friday morning.
Is that the right article you got there?
Yeah. Oh shit. I'm sorry. There we go. So, sometimes people, they lie to kind of protect information. It's kind of like, who is it that just went, Steve Bannon, who went to prison because he decided he wasn't going to give information because he felt in his mind that was,
protected.
Yeah, it was protected speech.
That is one thing I will give credit to him for, is he stuck to his guns. A lot of these people folded. A lot of people around Trump folded. Flynn did not. Not Flynn, but Bannon. Bannon did not fold.
Yeah, he didn't.
I don't necessarily trust the guy after all of the Q stuff and being around Mike Lindell in the Cyber Symposium, even though he did criticize him. There's something about Flynn or Bannon that just, I can't put my finger on it yet. But he has stuck to his guns on this one, and he's locked up now, right? He had to turn himself in.
Yeah, he had to turn himself in to the DOJ, that same DOJ that's run by who?
Oh shoot.
Not Mayorkas.
Not Mayorkas. That's the...
Yeah, Merrick Garland.
That's Garland.
It was also held in contempt of court, but of course, they're not going to go after him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
No, and the
if you
Senate's not going after any of those guys because Schumer refuses to put it on the schedule. The House has impeached Mayorkas, and they've even, I don't know if they've even tried to do it with with this other, I keep forget his name now. I'm dumb. My brain is fried tonight. We've had so much going on the backside of this show.
Yeah, we're not going to discuss it, but we've had a lot of stuff going on, and we've been trying to put stuff together for season 3. It's I was gonna let you guys know I can't wait for season 3. It's gonna be great.
There are still, I'll say this too, is there are so many people that are no longer around because of Trump, because they've given up. They've realized that the Republican Party has been taken over by the MAGA side of things. I'm not necessarily a MAGA, like, you know, die hard, whatever. Yeah, I do have my Trump flag back there. You can't quite see it right now, but I'm not finding the MAGA stuff because the MAGA thing is a little more like culty sometimes. I'm not there, but you have to admit that the old Bush era Republicans are slowly being pushed out, and there are some holdouts. There are still some neocons in there, some uniparty people that are still hanging things up, like Schumer. You know, that won't put impeaching Mayorkas on the freaking ballot on the schedule. You know, even though all these strongly worded letters in these hearings where they get to rip people is good because we're seeing them get shredded in these committee hearings, there's still not action that's happened yet. There's not been any action that's happened yet to hold a lot of these people accountable. And anytime there ever has been any nuance or little minutia of some kind of accountability, it's been slap on the wrist. Like the lawyer that lied in the FISA court, slap on the wrist. He's gone. You know, these people just get off without a whole lot of anything. They have their pensions, they get to keep all their benefits and go off into the sunset, and you never hear about them again. While guys like Bannon are in prison because he just refused to talk. It's like you have guys that have spoken falsehoods, that have wasted taxpayer dollars and gone into these witch hunts against Trump, and yet you have guys like Bannon who just refused to speak. Like, you're punishing a guy for exercising his Fifth Amendment right, which is not self-incriminate to some degree. You know, I'm not going to give you information. It's protected because of you know, the things with Trump. So that's a thing too. What happens next because all of the things they're trying to get Trump on have to do with official actions that have just been ruled that he is immune on those. How much of that, because that's going to be a whole long drawn out hearing. We're not going to hear the end of those hearings until after the election. Because he'll never go to real trial. It's going to be a show like they did with Alex Jones, where he will not get to defend himself because it's a hearing, so he doesn't get to testify or anything. They just get to drag him in front of the court and say, well, and determine what was and what wasn't an official action of his now. So these people are despicable in the way they're running this government.
Yeah, it is. You know, and it's just like bringing up bills, just like in our third segment, Name That Bill.
We need better segues.
You didn't even see it coming. That's right.
We need better segues.
Yeah, we do. You already know it's time to name that bill. It's a chance for you in the audience to expose our lawmakers in the Lone Star State's ridiculous initiatives. I'm going to give you 3 potential bills that have passed in the state of Texas, and it is your job to help your host spot the real bill. Now, before we get into this, did you want to close off anything on that last segment?
No. All I know is I'm going to need all the help I can get. Can I phone a friend? I got a couple guys down in the Lone Star State.
I mean, we got 3 or 4 different chats open here, so let's see what they got for you. All right, so this first Texas act is the Chupacabra Conservation Act, or known as HB 1243. Description: the bill establishes a state-funded program aimed at conserving and protecting the chupacabra population in Texas. It allocates $3 million annually for habitat restoration, research on chupacabra behavior, and public education campaigns to raise awareness about this elusive creature.
I know we've done this one before in another venue, and
I
it's
have
gonna.
no idea what you're talking about.
I've heard this one somewhere in another venue that we've done something someplace, and I am sad to say I don't remember it. I don't remember the outcome.
All right, well, let's go with number 2, the Chupacabra Tourism Promotion Initiative, or known as SB 5688. Description: the legislation designates the chupacabra as the official mascot of Texas tourism. The state provides $2 million annually to develop chupacabra-themed attractions such as guided chupacabra tours, chupacabra-themed festivals, and chupacabra merchandise.
We're trying to find the real one on this one, right? Which one's the real bill?
Yes, you're going to fight the real bill.
Because we usually have to find the fake one. We have to find the real one.
This time I flopped it up on you. All right, in number
That
3...
awful.
the Chupacabra legislation, or HB 2510. Description: Texas passed a resolution designating the Chupacabra as the official mythical creature of the state, worth $2 million. The Chupacabra, and legendary creature believed to be in habitat parts of Americas, particularly in Texas, was recognized in this symbolic gesture. Cat got your tongue? Should I say Chupacabra?
Got my goat.
Oh, man.
Got my goat.
All right, so we got the Chupacabra Conservation Act, the Chupacabra Tourism Promotion Initiative, and the Chupacabra legislation.
Preservation Act is the fake. Is the real. Now I forget. No, it's. I don't know. You did it. My brain is not ready for the process of elimination is okay. So we got in the chat. Lynch says 1 is real.
It says number 1 is real.
Spike over in the Discord says it. The second one is fake. The preservation one's fake. I think that's a fake one too.
Are you sure?
Lynch Mob's changing his answer now. Come on, guys. Gonna put it in the live chat over here on Discord. That's where you get to interact with this one the most. Because there's an actual poll that we can put up. I don't think we can put polls up on YouTube yet, can we? We have to figure that out.
So I'm actually going to this right now because I don't even think I even know what the real. Jesus,
Did
it's
you
been
not
so.
put it? Did you not put it in the notes?
Oh my god, I didn't.
He just trolled himself. We need help.
we need some serious help because I have.
Help.
Yes, we need
Professionals.
grown-ups in the room here to please help us out because I
we are
literally just
professionals.
trolled myself. How did I do that? I'm looking it up right now. Give me a second. You know, it's definitely not El Chupacabra, Hispanic women, and Republican. No, that's not it. What?
What is happening?
We have a new party, the Party of Chupacabra. Bro, get me off screen before I get us canceled. All right. I don't know. You know what? I think this should be the first time that we say why don't you guys let us know in the next episode, our final episode of the season, which is going to be Russiagate episode 3, and it's going to be about the post-presidency and what's happened since then.
Oh, you mean like actually like all the wars and the things that have kicked off
because of it.
Oh, imagine that.
Oh man, I have failed tonight on that one because usually I'm on it. Usually I'm like trying to figure out a way to stonewall you and make you feel bad, and I think I stonewalled myself. This is a first on ROMA Nation. Don't look at me at that tone of voice. But anyways, if you guys want to join us in our shenanigans, again, please join our Discord. You guys will not be disappointed. There's a lot of stuff going on in there now. We're going to be adding some extra rooms where you guys will be able to submit information and articles for us to read online of things that maybe haven't been brought to the public eye yet, so you never know. We got a couple of people in there like Vash. You guys see Vash on the screen all the time. He's one of the guys that helps us out with information here and there, and he drops articles into the chats, and we go in there and we just pick them apart and say, hey, this sounds good, but we want to get everybody involved in this show, because this is all about Middle America, and it's all about educating people on the proper processes and things. And that's why we have Constitutional Corner. It's why we have, Name That Bill. It's why we have all these things, is because these are things that you probably have never heard of before that people should know. And we do this on purpose so that, that you're the next time that you're out and somebody mentions something about it, at least you have the proper information to give.
Yep. And the other thing too is a lot of topics that we end up going over, or like some of the other stuff that we fill in the middle, is a lot of like how we had when we had Turtle on last week.
Mm-hmm.
We will crowdsource from you, the viewership, and the community in the Discord. If there's something that's going on, a lot of times we're tipped off to it because of other people. Like some of these guys that are in our community are so plugged in that we're finding stuff on the internet before it's scrubbed. Like with the cat that tried to kill Trump, we got to watch things in real time get scrubbed off the internet because because our guys are OSINT guys. Like they know how to find information. And once they dropped links and we were looking at it, and then the next day, because I didn't save it, it was gone. But we saw things. We got a lot of stuff that was saved. But yeah, that's what's cool about having that on the back end, not just out here talking. This is mainly to draw more people in. So that way we can, okay, here's some content and come listen to this content. But a lot of the work, a lot of the stuff where we're actually learning about this stuff happens in the Discord, happens on the back end, and then this is distilled down what would come from it.
This is basically a product of the Discord.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. So once again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord, and please subscribe. Yep, right down there at the bottom. Thank you guys so much, so very, very much. And thank you for all the new people that have joined the Discord. Again, if you do subscribe to our channels, you will get automatic gold status in our Discord. And we're not going to be doing that for long. All right. So Scrap and I are going to try and figure out a number and figure out what we do.
There'll be a threshold where we're looking at the premium options for the Discord, and it's not to lock anybody out. It's because Discords get rowdy, and people that moderate and maintain the community, they deserve to be compensated. You know, it's not for us to go, hey, come be a part of our thing and let's pocket that cash. It's like, no, there's people that have to put eyeballs and make decisions. Like, it's in that, and we need that. We need,
Exactly.
we're going to need that eventually. So those that get in early, you're going to get complimentary, you know, access to stuff, and it's as a thank you for being here, for helping us get the ball rolling. Because eventually, if this continues, content becomes a feedback loop, a positive feedback loop. As soon as we reach a certain level of threshold where it gets out there, it just keeps getting out there, and that's when things go viral. And we don't know when that bump is going to come. We're just going to keep producing content until it happens, and eventually it's going to happen. That's what we're looking at. So come on, be a part. It's not so rowdy right now. It's actually kind of a fairly quiet place in relative terms compared to other Discords that have thousands of people that are on them. Like,
yep, and there's a lot of very good opinionated people there that know their shit. You know, they do. They would, and they do their research, and you know, even if it's just a place where you want to come in and talk about there's something you're not familiar with, there's going to be somebody there that can help you out with that. You know, so and that's where we get our content from. But anyways, like I said, like, comment, subscribe, and join the Discord. Scrap Rapmeister,
Ranty McRant Face.
Ranty
is
McRant
done
Face.
for the
Thank
evening.
you very much for joining me on this journey. It's been a blast. We're not going anywhere. Don't worry, guys. But we got one more episode for you. That is part 3 of 3 of Russiagate Uncensored, and then we'll be off for a couple of weeks before we come back for season 3. But when we come back, we're coming back with a bang. So I hope you guys are ready. Also, don't forget, we got Sunset Rants. Days are kind of we're working on it, but we're eventually going to make that a permanent thing as well. We're going to have revolving guests on that show and co-hosts and things like that. So
it may go to its own channel, so watch for that. That way we can keep things compartmentalized in different ways. Like, we've noticed that some of the other YouTubers that are out there that are kind of doing the same similar stuff are doing that as well, if they have different types of shows. So that way they can have like this Saturday night hangout that we do when we do a deep thing on it. This content should be here where it's at, and all the clips for it. The Sunset Rants is more like the daily news stuff, or a conglomerate of a couple days worth of news, as it is now. As that evolves, like, it should probably have its own channel too. We haven't got that far, but we're working on that. Don't mind, please, don't mind the dust. It's under construction. But if you like something, let us know. If you don't like something, let us know. And trust me, there are guys in the Discord will let us know when they don't like things.
Oh yeah,
we like that around here. So
all right, well, thank you guys for joining us tonight. That's Scrapjaw right there. He's at a Scrapjaw on X. I'm the real Roma_AK on X. This is ROMA Nation Live, signing out. Peace.